What's up, everybody? So today I want to talk about how to get people to binge watch or binge listen or binge read your content. The reason why this is so important is for obvious reasons, is because the more people you can get to binge your content and your material online, the more stickiness your brand will have and the more people will relate to you as an authority in your space. And so if you don't know who I am, my name is Lucas James. I built Twiz to $1.72 million in revenue last year in terms of yearly revenue. And I'm here to help people, specifically agency owners, help grow their business and scale. And over the last 9 months, I've spent a lot of time building out content and community. And we built a pretty large community at this point of agency owners. And so the thing is, look, I'm not the biggest content creator in the space by any means. I'm still getting going here, and I don't have that much followers in the grand scheme of things. Like if you compared me to Mr. Beast, I definitely don't have that many followers. My total following is probably around 30,000 people right now, right? In terms of online followers. And obviously a smaller portion of those followers are engaged on a daily basis. But what has happened, and I can give you shed some light on this, what has happened is now there are a lot of people who consume the content on a daily basis. I mean, I'd say probably around 1,000 people a day will actually consume the content on a daily basis, right? Which is pretty incredible. And it's still just getting started, but it is pretty nuts to see that kind of activity across the social platforms. A lot of times now people get on our calls with our agency, they'll say, I've been consuming your content on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. I've been listening to your podcast. And getting this kind of engagement is sort of the Holy Grail. It's what everybody wants to achieve. They want that sort of binging to occur on their content. Now, the thing that I think trips a lot of agency owners up is they think that this kind of binging takes years to build, but I can tell you that it does not. I was able to do it in less than 9 months. Now, my thing about this and picking the right kind of content to create in order to get people to binge is to really think about what type of category are you a subject matter expert on. See, the thing is, if I hadn't had the kind of growth I've had with my agency, I probably wouldn't have made all digital marketing agencies my category of focus. In fact, I probably would have focused more specifically on, let's say, scaling SEO agencies or scaling lead gen agencies or something even more niche than that. Maybe scaling SEO agencies who write blogs. I could have been an authority on if my content wasn't or if my experience level wasn't as high as it is now. And so I want you to think about that when you're trying to create bingeable content. That's the first thing you want to think about is what specifically is your core competency? And is there a category you could essentially create really good content that people really find valuable and just binge over and over and over again? Now, the thing is, you'll know when this is starting to work because you'll start to see that every single one of the posts you make has roughly the same amount of views. And sure, some will skyrocket and get thousands of views. But for the most part, you're going to have ones in the hundreds, right? Usually for business content. And then eventually thousands every time you post something. And the reason why that's important is because you can actually see your listener base or your viewer base or reader base grow over and over and over again every single month. Now, what is the key once you've identified that category to actually getting them to share your content and knowing what is the key to knowing what kind of content is the best to write about? So it's not only just picking whatever you're an authority on and picking that category where you feel you could be 10x better in terms of the content production than the other types of content being put out there. That's step number one. But step number two is knowing how to write the content or produce the content that will become the most bingeable to get the most people to watch the most videos in the most amount of time possible, right? And typically in sessions, because that's how you're usually rewarded, is for someone who just watches one video after another video after another video after another video. That's typically how the social media platforms reward you on top of sharing your content, which typically happens when somebody binges your content a lot, right? So the kind of content you want to make and the way you want to make it is you want to always talk directly to the specific persona type that you think you can provide the most value to. And you never want to deviate from that. You want to continuously talk specifically to that person. Now, the reason I love making videos more than anything else, and typically for the podcast, I'll make a video that I will then turn into a podcast, is because I'm looking at something and I'm not writing. It's not all in my head. So I feel like I'm having a conversation with you when I am actually creating the content. And that's very helpful because it helps me imagine the user, the person who's consuming the content on the other side of the camera that I have when I record these through Loom. And I can imagine that there's an agency owner right there listening to my content and actually absorbing it and really utilizing it to their best abilities. So if you don't have that in mind, you start veering away and you're not having that one-on-one conversation with someone, then the binge ability, let's say, I don't know if that's a word, but let's say that binge ability is going to dramatically drop, right? Because you're not speaking directly to them. People love to feel like they're being spoke directly to, right? So get that right as well. So again, just to go over, make sure you're an authority in the space, right? Meaning you have to pick a category phrase that you know you can have content that's 10x better than anyone else in. I personally think, and this is my own personal opinion, I personally think that we can provide content that's 10x better than other people around growing your agency. That is my opinion. Now, if I were to say all business owners, to be honest, I don't think I can do that. The reason why, I have not built $1 billion company yet. You know who I'd love to hear do business content? I'd love to hear from, maybe Elon Musk or just somebody about how they were able to build $1 trillion companies. That to me would be the best person to listen to. That content would be 10x better than anyone else, which is kind of why Alex Hormozi has done so well. If you want to listen to some other content that I'm binging right now, you could listen to the All In podcast, which is the #1 tech podcast right now. I listen to that constantly. And the reason why is because the people who are delivering the content can actually speak on the issues very well, and they can deliver 10x better content because they have that background, that experience. And so again, I feel like from the experiences that I have, I feel like I've been able to go from, that very small niche to now a larger niche, which is just digital marketing agency owners. And then maybe one day, if my businesses grow to be large enough, I could get them to be on just businesses in general. And I could probably get a lot of people consuming our content around businesses in general. But the main thing here that I really want to drive home, and it extends from the content you create to the brand you choose to build and the product that you choose to build. The key is you never want to put your hat in the ring on something that you don't think you could be the absolute best at by a large degree. That is the biggest takeaway I've had over the last few years with growing my businesses is I used to be very quick to jump into new things and chase shiny objects. Now I'm very methodical before I jump in. And I think, how can I be 10x better than anybody else in this specific space, right? So that's how you create that bingeable content. Become an authority, speak directly to them, and then stick with it. Don't veer off that at all. The last thing that I'll say is making sure that you have multiple ways for people to binge their content. Now, I listen to, for example, Alex Hormozi a lot, and I listen to his podcast a lot, and I watch his videos a lot. And on YouTube, I watch the videos. I listen to the podcast. I watch the shorts on TikTok. I watch all of his stuff, right? And so the key for you is really thinking through, is there a way you could become so omni-channel that it's very hard for your users and listeners not to understand your message or not to listen or binge your content? That is key. If you can nail that piece and you're everywhere all the time, you're creating this viral loop where basically, or maybe just a closed off ecosystem is a better word, where essentially everybody is seeing your content and they're in this vacuum where they're consuming it and they're enjoying it and they're sharing it with their friends. And so I would think about that too when it comes to creating bingeable experiences to get people to share, like, and listen to your content every single day. Make it a habit. Make it something that they have to come to every day and enjoy, and they don't stop, right? I literally listen to every single podcast that Alex Hormozi puts out, and I do the same thing for the All In podcast. I do the same thing for Nathan Latka, who's an influencer in the SaaS space, and because they have unique experiences that help me grow my businesses, right? So that is my advice for you guys. Build something bingeable, make a commitment to stick to it, build a habit, become an authority, become the best, and only put your hat in the ring on that category if you feel you can really be the best. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, feel free to share it with a friend. Feel free to like and subscribe any of the content in order to maximize the view and get more people to actually view the content and share it. And hopefully we can all grow together. If you have any questions, or you have any content you want to see on this pod video, however you're viewing this content, please let me know. All right, peace.